Imagine this. In the early 19th century, during the Industrial Revolution, Britain could produce textiles faster and cheaper than almost any country. But here's the twist. Even though Britain was more efficient at producing many things, it still traded with other countries. The question is why? Why would a country that's better at almost everything still need trade? And more importantly, can both sides really win from trade? Today, we are going to uncover one of the most powerful ideas in economics: how trade makes everyone better off. Think about your daily life. Your phone, designed in US, assembled in China. Your coffee, probably from Brazil or Colombia. Your clothes, made somewhere overseas, maybe in South Asia. This is called interdependence. We rely on others for goods and services. Let's imagine two countries, Brazil and Colombia, and let's say they can produce only two goods, bicycles and coffee. To keep things simple, we will assume that the only resource they use is labor. Now look at this table carefully. Brazil has 60,000 labor hours available each month. Colombia has 40,000. To make one bicycle, Brazil needs 600 hours, while Colombia needs 800 hours. And to make one bag of coffee, Brazil needs 12 hours and Colombia needs 32 hours. So we can already see something important. Brazil is more productive in both goods. It uses fewer labor hours to make a bicycle, and it also uses fewer labor hours to make a bag of coffee. At first glance, it looks like Brazil should produce everything and Colombia should produce nothing. But that is not the conclusion economics gives us, and that is exactly why this chapter is so interesting. Now let's use the table to build each country's production possibilities frontier. A PPF shows the maximum combination of two goods a country can produce if it uses all of its resources efficiently. To draw this, we first need the extreme points. What happens if the country uses all labor on bicycle or all labor on coffee? If Brazil uses all 60,000 labor hours to make bicycles and each bicycle takes 600 hours, then Brazil can make 100 bicycles. If it uses all labor to make coffee and each bag takes 12 hours, then it can make 5,000 bags of coffee. Same way, Colombia can produce 50 bicycles or 1250 bags of coffee. When we draw the graph connecting two extreme points, the line between these points show all possible efficient combinations. And the lesson here is simple. Resources are limited. If a country wants more bicycle, it must give up some coffee. If it wants more coffee, it must give up some bicycles. That trade-off is the foundation of this whole chapter. Now let us imagine a world without trade. If Brazil and Colombia can't trade with one another, then each country must produce everything it wants to consume. In other words, production equals consumption, as shown in the table. The question can be, why are these numbers so neat? Because here, each country is using half of its labor on one good and half on the other. Consider these as our benchmark consumption bundles. Later, we will compare those to what happens with trade situation. As we have already built the base structure, now let's talk about the first major concept: absolute advantage. Absolute advantage simply means the ability to produce a good using fewer inputs than another producer. Look at the table again. Now focus only on the labor hours needed per unit. This table is very straightforward. Brazil has absolute advantage in both goods, and this is exactly where many people get confused. If Brazil is better at producing both bicycles and coffee, then why would Colombia produce anything at all? Why would Brazil bother trading? That is where we move from absolute advantage to something more important: opportunity cost. Economics does not stop at asking who is more efficient. It also asks what must be given up. This is the idea of opportunity cost. To produce one bicycle, a country gives up the opportunity to use that labor for coffee. To produce one bag of coffee, it gives up the opportunity to use that labor for bicycle. Let's calculate that carefully. The opportunity cost of one bicycle in Brazil is 50 coffee bags, and for Colombia it's just 25. Even though Colombia is odds at producing bicycles in absolute terms, it is actually cheaper for Colombia to produce bicycles in terms of what it sacrifices. That is the key insight. Now let's do the reverse. We ask, what does each country give up when it produces one bag of coffee? We find Brazil gives up fewer bicycles when making coffee. That means coffee is relatively cheaper in Brazil. Now the answers become clear. Even though Brazil has absolute advantage in both goods, Colombia still has comparative advantage in one of them. So Brazil should specialize more in coffee and Colombia should specialize more in bicycle. As a result, Brazil exports coffee to Colombia and Colombia exports bicycles to Brazil. So trade is not random. Trade route follows comparative advantage. In case of production with trade, suppose Brazil produces 3,500 coffee bags. That requires 42,000 labor hours. Brazil has 60,000 labor hours in total, so it has 18,000 hours left. Those remaining hours can be used to make 30 bicycles. If Colombia specializes fully in bicycle, it uses all 40,000 labor hours on 50 bicycles production. Let's assume the following trade happens. Colombia sends 20 bicycles to Brazil and Brazil sends 900 coffee bags to Colombia. Brazil exports coffee because coffee is the good in which it has comparative advantage. Colombia exports bicycles because bicycles are the good in which it has comparative advantage. This table is the payoff of the entire chapter. Without trade, Brazil had 50 bicycles and 2,500 coffees. And with trade, it has 50 bicycles and 2,600 coffees. Without trade, Colombia had 20 bicycles and 625 coffee. And with trade, it has 30 bicycles and 900 coffees. So both countries are better off with trade. This means if we draw the production possibilities frontier, then both countries reach a point outside the PPF line, which was previously impossible to achieve, but now it's possible due to trade. So the next time someone says, why don't countries just make everything by themselves? You now know the answer. Because self-sufficiency sounds simple, but it is not efficient. Trade allows countries to specialize in what they do relatively better, exchange with others, and end up consuming more than they could on their own. This is the power of comparative advantage, and this is why interdependence and trade are such central ideas in economics.